Hi, welcome to Qigong Live Online. This is a beginner's class. Today we're going to do the figure eight. It's commonly used in not only the Qigong, it's also used in the Taiji practices as well. And to understand the principle of the figure eight, and it's a very, very commonly used exercise to warm up the body and to warm up the hips, because we know that all the power comes from our hip, well, it comes from the ground and then comes to our hips, and then it's distributed through our hips. The hips where the tuning part is. But we're just about to start off with the class. And we'll talk about that for you. So go back onto your thumbs and then come back round underneath. Yep. 2 thumbs together. And gong. Make a fist with your left hand, cover with your right, and then bring it towards yourself. And then down. Yep. Perfect. There we go. So the figure eight. So you'll quite often see this figure eight done. And so, as I say, lots of Tai Chi practices use it, and you'll see lots of people, and they do this exercise where they're doing this. Yeah, we're going to talk about this exercise and about the mechanics of this exercise and show you how to do that. They call it a figure eight because in theory your hips are doing a figure eight like this. Yeah, and they are doing that as a particular one. And the advanced one class I did before this goes into a little bit more detail about how you work this exercise and how the exercise is created. But first of all, what we're going to do is we understand the principle of the figure eight. It's learning to change weight from side to side. We're going from side to side. We're changing weight. We have to do that. When we're walking, we have to do that. When you change weight, because you can't pick the foot off the ground unless you change 100% weight, because they can't get the foot off the ground if you don't do that. Same when you're on the other foot, you step. And when you change all the weight on that foot, then you can step up. Otherwise you can't do that. So I understand that's the principle of that. And so we're looking at the idea of the weight change. So it's teaching this precision of weight changes. 100%. Foot off the ground, other side, foot off the ground. Changing weight, 100%, yeah, off the ground, other side, off the ground. And I mean off the ground as in not off the ground in the air and falling over. Don't do that one. It goes off the ground, stand, 100% weighted, still 100% weighted, foot down, then move across again. Go right to the other side, 100% weight, no matter what you do with the foot, still 100% weighted, yeah? Still anchored on the foot until you put it to the side. So that's the first part. So we're doing that, and then we add the rotation. Now we can do the rotation statically. So if we just do the rotation from our hips, and we've talked about this in the very, very early class, the beginner's class, but I'm going to go back and add another piece to this. Rotation, the idea of the body rotates. Yep. And we're doing it from the hips. Yep. Rotate, 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 and we're staying static. So it's double weighted on both feet. And we're rotating. Remember sitting on our kidney points as well. Our knees are slightly bent. There's no weight in our heels. Our heels are touching the ground, but there's no weight in it. We're standing on our muscles. And we're rotating on the kidney points. Yep, very good. So we have that idea. And if you just let the arms relax, then you can just turn your hips and your arms just flop from side to side. And that's part of it. So this is how we do it. It's a great exercise for lubricating and getting the flexibility in your hips, getting your hip joints moving backwards and forwards, getting your lower back moving, so you have your spine turning and rotating as well. So all these exercises are really good for your health and your body, your physical health, spinal health, hip joints. These are the big articulation joints in our body, so we want to keep them fluid so we don't end up having hip operations when we get older. So we have all that fluidity in our spine. So this is one of the exercises that does this. Yep. We want to add another piece to this. Now, the other thing with this one is that we're not bringing our hip forward and then bringing the other hip forward and then bring the other hip. What we're doing is we're retreating this. We're pulling this one back and then we pull the other one back, 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 back. So the rotation is coming from retreating, learning to bring the hip back. Not by pushing the hip forward. It goes backwards, 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 and get used to what that feels like. Yep. Because most time if you did this exercise, you'd think we do this, you'd start pushing your hip forward, then pushing the other hip forward and push it forward. And that's not how it's done. It goes retreat, retreat. And just let relax. Good, so that's the rotation. So now we're going to add the idea of this pendulum from side to side to the rotation. The pendulum, or this weight change from side to side. And then we're going to do a pendulum, we're going to turn, and we're going to start turning as we do the rotation. We do a rotation as we pendulum from side to side. And so we get this idea. Now we're turning and moving. Turning and moving. This is the figure eight. Yep. Now, if you get a bit lost doing that, just do the best you can. Goes across and turns, across and turns, across and turns. Yep. So we get this idea. Now I'm going to stop you from doing something. This is the trap for young players. If there is a trap for young players, this is it for this exercise. And that's sticking the hip out like that. It's like Watusi, like we're dancing. Yeah, see the hip goes out, hip goes out, hip goes out. When it goes across straight. Turns. Across and turns. So you want to keep your back straight so there's no hip poking out. But because it feels good and then you start wobbling from side to side and doing this. But that's incorrect in Qigong. It's good if you're dancing, but this is not dancing. Well, it is dancing in a certain way, but it's martial dancing, if you like to call it that, because it's very strict. And so you're rotating the hip, you're rotating your pelvis. So you pull your hip back, go across, pull your hip back, go across, pull your hip back, go across, pull your hip back. And that's what's doing the rotation. Good. Now, once you've got that idea, then you can just let the arms go and the hands follow. Yep. And now we're doing the figure eight with our hips, this big figure eight with your hips. Let the arms just hang. And the arms just loose. Yep. I'll do an exercise that incorporates a concept of this for you so you can see how this works. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. There's the going backwards version, which we were doing. Go back and turn, back and turn. Well, this is another one we're going to do next. One we're doing then, we're going forward, turning, forward, turning. So we're going across and turn, but we're actually going forward and then turn, forward and then turn, forward and then turn. But we're going to do the opposite one. Now we're going to go backwards and turn, backwards and turn. They're very different. Backwards and turn. Backwards turn. Remember staying on the kidney points? Backwards turn, backwards turn, backwards turn. This one. And we're going to do the exercise for this one. Now normally you do the other one, especially in martial arts, because you go forward and then you throw the punch. But with this one we're going to go backwards and turn backwards, and it's called cloud hands. Now the exercise looks like this. Where you go backwards turn, backwards turn, backwards turn. Now, of course, now I've added the arms to it, make it really complicated. But remember, it's still the same thing, backwards turn, backwards turn, backwards turn, backwards turn. So this is relatively easy, yeah? Backwards turn. Well, sort of easy, but without sticking your hip out. Backwards turn, backwards turn. Oops. Backwards turn, backwards turn. There you go, like that. Good. So now we're going to add the arms to it. Now, the easiest way to do this is not doing the pinch, is just do the backwards, this one here, where we just turn your hips. So we're going to do it with your hands. So you bring your hand up, and it comes up. Now I'm going to do it, I'll mirror you. We're going to do the right hand first. And I'm going to mirror you. So bring your hand up so it faces your head. So you're looking at your palm of your hand. Then you're going to turn to the side. As you turn to the side, the hand goes out, the palm goes down. Then the other hand comes up. See, I'm looking at that palm. As I go across, I'm watching the palm as I go across. I'm turning my hips. The palm goes out, the palm goes down, the other one comes up. And you can do this one at a time. Watch the palm. And then the palm goes down, the other one comes up. Watch the palm. Goes out, palm down, and the other hand comes up. Watch the palm. Palm down, other hand comes up. Watch the palm. Palm goes down, palm comes up. Now think of your hips. Your hips are moving your arms. Your arms are just moving because of my hips are moving. It's not I'm moving my arms, I'm moving my hips, and that's what makes my arm move. So retreat my hip, makes the arm move across. Retreat my hip, makes the arm move across. Retreat goes across. Retreat goes across. Good. That's it. Pull your hip back, the hand comes across. Pull your hip back, the hand goes across. Good. Now we're going to add the pendulum to this. This could be, by the way, this could be a bit of a big jump for some of you. Be okay if you just want to stay just with the double weighted and just turning from side to side like that. Palm across, palm down. Palm across, palm down. just like that. But if you're okay with this, you can always go back and watch this video again anyway, so it's okay. So now we're going to go across, and we're going to move across. I'm going to change weight, hands. We're going to back across, and then bring the hand across and goes out to the side. Back across and then turn. Back across and then turn. Back across and then turn. Back across and turn. Good. So that's the pieces. So we've given you a few different pieces to think about and to build to this stage. Yeah. And so you can go back and watch this video again. Back across, turn, brings the hand up. Back across, turn, the bottom hand comes up. Back across, turn. And remember, the top hand watches you, your head watches the top hand. Yeah. Then it picks up the other hand, then your head watches the other hand. Watch the hand. Back across, turn. Good. Perfect. And just stop there. Wave hands and claps, good for the liver. So this exercise, we started with the 3 different pieces. We started with the first part, which was about the weight change. Learning how to change weight from side to side. Then we added the rotation, about pulling your hip back. Yep. Then we added the rotation and the pendulum. So now we're going across and rotating, which weight changing and rotation, weight change, rotation. I call it a pendulum. It's like a pendulum of a clock. It goes from side to side. We have this idea of the clock swinging, and we're moving weight. Yep. Pendulum across, turn, pendulum across, turn. We had this part. Yep. Can you always go back to and break it down into individual pieces? Yeah. So we'll go back again from side to side. So pendulum going from side to side. Then the idea of the rotation. Yeah. Then we have the rotation. And then we change it from the rotation, and we have the pendulum in the rotation. Yep. And then we had the other one we changed it to, where we're going forward. Now we're going backwards and turning. Backwards turn. Backwards turn. Backwards turn. Good. So we now got this one. And then we added the hands to it. And so you can do this to hands by themselves to start with, just using your hips. Just using your hips to move your hands. And then now we're going backwards and turning. Backwards and turning. Backwards and turning. As I say, this takes a little time. This is not easy to do, by the way, so especially if you're a beginner. Backwards turn. It's all about the timing, and the timing takes a lot of years of practice. Yeah. Pendulum rotation. Pendulum rotation. Pendulum rotation. And the hands are coordinated with that. The hands are just following what the hips are doing. It's the hips that are moving. I'm moving my hips, and the hands are moving. If I stop my hips, then the hands stop moving. Yeah, the hips moving because the of the hand. Yep. So remember, that's the most important part. It's not a hand moving, it's a body moving. The arm moves because the body's moving, not an arm moving by itself. It looks really strange if I do that. There's an arm moving by itself, but I always move that. The body moves the hand, yeah? And so the body's moving the arm, not the arm moving by itself. Cool? Okay. It'll keep you busy anyway. If you have any questions about it, please ask. Yeah, no, I'll attempt to answer your questions. And if I don't answer them this week, if you ask me a question, I can always show you next week. So it's okay. So I remember them, write them down, and I'll bring them to class anyway. This came from a question about somebody asked me about the figure 8. So I hope they find that useful. And there's lots of Qigong exercises use this movement to it. Yeah. Very cool. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Roll back onto your thumbs. And